Welcome back. So, we get tons of inquiries about interview and how to interview well after a career break. And so, today we're going to focus on behavioral interview
Mhm.
questions and how to answer them after a career break. So, I think it's really important, Susan, to start with what is a behavioral
Mhm.
interview question? What's the definition of
Yeah,
it?
I mean, it's not rocket science. I think there's like you get tons of data out there. Basically, they're open-ended questions
Yep.
that give the interviewee an
Mhm.
opportunity to provide a more nuanced, detailed answer about the way they work,
Right.
and the interviewer an opportunity to kind of get a window into that. How does that person behave at work? How do they handle these situations that are common? And they're a great way to identify a good fit for both the candidate and the interviewer.
Yes. All right. So, typically, how do they sound? What are
So
you going to be
yeah, I mean,
asked?
they're kind of really obvious. It's Kelly, can you tell me about a time when you did or handled or were faced with X? Or can you give me an example of
Mhm.
when you've handled this, been faced with this, done this? So the second half of the question can vary widely,
Mhm.
but the first half of the question is almost always one of those two choices.
Right. And you want to be prepared. And so those type of questions are
They're just begging for a story. I mean, and we teach that in our courses. So you could show up for an interview knowing you're going to get one of these questions and then try to come up with a story on the fly.
Mhm.
But why do that if you
No.
can prepare?
Don't stress yourself out with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially because the stories are portable. So
Mhm.
the same story that you tell about winning that big deal could answer a question about a big success.
Yep.
But the process of winning that big deal probably had some obstacles. So that
Mhm.
same story could be talking about answering a question about when you've overcome a big hurdle.
Yeah.
That same story may also include some different difficult personalities along the way, where maybe your manager wanted you to do it one way, but you did it another way. So one story can answer multiple questions. So as you're thinking about the stories to prepare, I mean, we say three
Yeah.
is really all you
Well,
need.
and I want to call out what you really said there. So if our audience knows,
Yeah.
you want to be thinking about creating or putting together a story to tell or answer, like
Yeah.
an obstacle that you've overcome,
Yeah.
a big win that you've
Yeah.
had. Maybe you brokered an agreement,
Yeah.
or there was a dispute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are the stories that you want to really think about and have ready to go.
And often you'll see this a lot too if you do any research on interviewing. People will talk about the STAR method.
Yes.
It's a way we use a different method in our course, but it's the same basic idea of organizing your story. So, what was the situation? That's the S. What was the situation at hand? What was the problem, really?
Mhm.
The T is the task. What tasks did I have to
Yep.
pursue and accomplish to tackle that situation or problem? Then the A is achievements or accomplishments. What did I accomplish in the process
Yep.
of doing this? And then the R is the result.
Right.
In the end, I sealed the deal
Yep.
and we got $1 million or whatever it is. But it's organizing your story that way helps you when you're preparing it. And we don't think you should memorize it. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
want that rote kind of telling of the story. But if you write it,
Yeah.
and you're a teacher, you know what's that called when you
Yes.
have that like kinesthetic
Yeah.
response?
It's a
when
kinesthetic. Yeah.
you can remember more if you write it.
Yeah.
And then you're telling it naturally, but
Right.
you have it all there.
Right. And it makes it more specific
Yes.
because that's really what they're looking for, right?
Yes.
They're looking for
Yes.
specificity. Yeah.
Right. So
They don't
what
want general terms.
No, my kid's second grade teacher, when she was teaching them writing, said, show, don't tell. So don't say, I'm great under pressure. Tell me the story about on 9/11 you were working at a hospital in Lower Manhattan. That's showing me without having to even say,
Right.
I'm calm under pressure because I'm showing you.
Right.
Right.
And you mentioned this earlier, but each story can be repurposed.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you could tell it in a multitude
Yes.
of ways.
Yes.
Right. So you could
With
tell.
different focus, it could be
Yeah.
the same story, but you're spending a little more time talking about the obstacles.
Right.
Because that's the question. Or you're spending a little more time talking about the result because that's
Right.
the question. And you know, we say this all the time. Your biggest job, it's always been this way, but it's so much more this way now because there are
Yeah.
more applicants for every job.
Yes.
Your biggest job in an interview is to be memorable. And I'm going to remember a story, but I'm not going to remember a list of I'm really calm under pressure. I'm really good under chaos, with chaos. I'm not going to remember.
Yes.
So.
And the nerves that show up
Mhm.
during an interview, this just helps you get ahead of that. So there you have it, how to answer behavioral interview questions after a career break. If you liked what you heard today, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about us and our programming, you can visit us at www.preparetolaunchu.com. Thanks.